Bits or burnt?
Bit.
Okay. Take a deep breath, yes.
It's fine enough.
Okay. Good. Move back. Can I move the computer back?
No, don't touch the computer.
Bits or burnt? Take a deep breath, yes.
It's fine enough.
Okay. Good. Move back. Can I move the computer back?
No, don't touch the computer.
Bits or burnt? Take a deep breath, yes.
It's fine enough.
Okay. Good. Move back. Can I move the computer back?
No, don't touch the computer.
He looks absolutely washed out. Father sister. The old day.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Anybody hear me?
Yes, yes,
Hello, Iva. How are you?
good. Can you hear me? Yeah, good, thank you.
I can hear you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Johnny. Say hello, Errol. Hello, Rosalind. Hello, Gertie. Hello, Cone X. Beulah, that's better. I love to see faces if you're presentable, you know, it's nice to get some reaction. So if you're not comfortable, I'll accept it. If you're indecent, please don't. But otherwise, we'd love to see who's around and be able to have more personal interactions. As I always say, I prefer not to mute everybody. If there's noise in your environment, then please mute yourselves. But if it gets out of hand, then I'll have to mute everybody. But I do prefer not to. So it's 5 o'clock. You can all say hello. And this is going to be the last shir before Yontif, because we're finishing chapter 6 now, our third or fourth time around. Not that we finish, we'll never finish because it's never ending. But this Shabbos we finished chapters 5 and 6, so the series of Pirkei Avos that started after Pesach concludes now with Rosh Hashanah. So next Thursday it's going to be hectic. So there won't be a shir next week, but then after Yontif, I, please God, hope to begin a new series of shirim. We have Avos from Sinai now. I think we've done 4 cycles. So we've done it for nearly half a year. And although we can't say we've covered the subject exhaustively or definitively, but I think we've done well. And now it's time for something new. So please God, after Yontif, we will start a new series of something. either the 10 Commandments or the 13 Principles of Faith. Those are my short list of choices. If you have preferences, you're welcome to tell me. But I'm not asking for general suggestions. I'm giving you a grand choice of 2. You can choose between the 13 Principles of Faith or the 10 Commandments. And when we finish one, we'll do the other, so it doesn't matter. I mean, 13 Principles of Faith could probably take us a half a year also. But 10 Commandments will probably no more than 10 weeks. Okay. It's, let's see, 9 people. I'm waiting for a minion. Okay, as soon as the minion arrives, we're starting. Can you all see me? Am I too close to the computer, to the camera? Should I move back? Is it light enough? Must I close the curtains behind me? Please feel free to comment before we start.
Looks all right here.
Thank you. Okay, so this week we do chapters 5. This week we do chapters 5 and 6, and I'm going to focus on chapter 6 today. We have spoken about chapter 5 a few times, but we are in middle, chapter 6. The last time we were in middle of the long Mishnah, which we still haven't finished, and I'm afraid we're not going to finish today, because this is the Mishnah which is the paradigm of chapter 6, which we told you is called Kinyan Torah, the acquisition of Torah. And this Mishnah gets to the heart of it. And whereas we said that this Torah and this priesthood and this kingship, but the kingship is associated with 30 prerogatives, the priesthood, the kahuna, with 24 gifts are associated with the kahuna, the kohen. However, the Torah is acquired with 48 different qualities. And we spoke about this means the 48 different qualities by which we acquire Torah, meaning by which we become a Torah personality in general, and specifically how we can actually absorb the Torah. People go to shiurim for years. The question is, are they absorbing the Torah? Are they integrating the Torah in their lives? So he gives 48 qualities necessary for the acquisition of Torah. And we have so far done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We did 22. And now we're going to do a few more today, and that's all the time we're going to have for. So we're not going to finish even all the 48 in this series. We'll have to come back to it one day in the future. But right now, if you have an Art Scroll Sitter, it's on page 584 or 585 in English. It is chapter 6 of Pirkei Avot, Mishnah 6. 6, 6. How's that? 6, 6. So we've already done 22 or so of the characteristics needed to acquire the Torah. The last one we did was limiting pleasures and sleep and conversation and laughter. And now we're top line of page 584 and 586, which is Be'erech Apayim. That's the 4th quality on the top line in Hebrew, or the last one on the top line in English. Slowness to anger. Okay? So in order to become a Torah personality, to acquire Torah characteristics, one has to have Erech Apayim. Erech Apayim, that's one of the titles we give to Hashem. in the 13 attributes of mercy. We speak about Keil Erech Hapayim. We say it in the Slichas. We start on Saturday night. We start Slichas for the week before Rosh Hashanah. Keil Erech Hapayim is repeated in the Slichas, in Tachnon. Slowness to anger. So we have to be like Hashem, who is slow to anger. Hashem is infinitely patient with us. We have to be a little bit patient with other people too. Maybe not infinitely patient, but a little bit more patient than we usually are. So he calls it Erech Hapayim, and he translates it here as slowness to anger. The rabbi said that anger can make a Talmid Chacham, no matter how wise and scholarly he may be, anger can cause a Talmid Chacham, a scholar, to forget his Torah learning. He can squander his learning if he allows himself to get angry. Certainly, if one is becoming a Torah personality, maybe you're going to be a teacher of Torah. A teacher for sure needs patience, right? Think back when you went to school. Who are your best teachers, your favorite teachers? Were the ones who had more patience for you than others and didn't shout at you if you asked a stupid question or something. They had the attitude that the only stupid question is the one that does not get asked. We encourage questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If the person needs to know the answer, then it's important. So to be slow to anger is very important. This relates directly to the next one. Belev Tov, a good heart. In order to acquire Torah, you need a good heart. Now, what does that mean? I understand to be generous, to be a Baal Tzedakah, to be a philanthropist, you need a good heart. Why do you need a good heart to study Torah, to absorb the Torah? So the rabbi said that Torah cannot reside in an evil heart. What does it mean, a good heart? It doesn't just mean someone who's generous. It means someone who is easily appeased if he should get angry. If there should be cause, something happened which it would be logical and almost acceptable for him to be angered by it. So we go straight from slowness to anger to having a good heart, because even if you are angry, if you had a good heart, you will be easily appeased. And if the person says sorry, you will accept his forgiveness. And guess what? Even if he doesn't say sorry, which he should, we still will not bear a grudge or keep the faribel for the next 30 years, as is customary in South Africa. And that's one of the customs we could drop. Keep the kichel and herring, but drop the faribels, especially before Rosh Hashanah. If we can make amends. The children in nursery school at Sydenham sing, let's be friends, make amends before Rosh Hashanah. So we should drop the faribels, we should have a lev tov. Another interpretation of a good heart is a heart that is free of jealousy. He fargins, or she fargins. Fargins is a Yiddish word. I don't know how to translate it. Maybe Louis and Dawnfontein, you have a English translation for the word fargin. I can tell you what it means. To fargin means not to begrudge another person's good fortune. The other guy wins the lotto. Why didn't I win? Not to begrudge someone else their good fortune is in Yiddish called to fargin. But how would you say it? To begrudge is the negative. How would you say the positive if you're not begrudging? What are you? Any suggestions from the floor?
Ik agree.
Feel free to give a suggestion. I'm looking for an
Be
English
happy for him.
that means not to be begrudging.
Be happy.
Sorry?
Maybe to be happy for him.
To be happy for him, that's what it means, but I'm looking for a word.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Be gracious. Yes, Ross?
To share in his good fortune.
Okay, that's a sentence. I'm looking for one word.
Don't one.
In Yiddish, you can do a lot of things that you can't do in other languages. Fagin is one word. Okay, think about it. Let me know.
Celebrate.
Sorry?
Celebrate.
To celebrate. The Fagin does not mean to celebrate, no. Okay, another commentary on having a good heart is to be free of hatred, to be free of worry, and to be free of depression. Wow. Can you believe that? Gee, I hope I have a good heart. What more could you ask for in life? To be free of hatred of other people, to be free of worry, no anxieties, no neuroses. You don't need a therapist every week. No depression. That's fantastic. That's unbelievable. Gee, I bless us all. We should all have that good heart with those qualities. Okay, next. Be'emunas chachomim. Faith in the sages. Now, always we're told that you have to believe in God, not in human beings. It says before Rosh Hashanah, it's traditional to go visit our loved ones at the cemetery, right? You all have that tradition. It also says before Rosh Hashanah, one should visit the graves of righteous people at the cemetery. So if you're going to visit your loved ones, maybe pop in over there also to the rabbi section, and you'll find some great people from years bygone. Why? So it says in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Jewish Law, he says, because first of all, the cemetery is holy ground. So our prayers for a good new year are maybe more likely to be heard in that sacred ground. Secondly, if you go pray at the graves of the righteous, you don't pray to them. You're not allowed to pray to people, even deceased people. You pray to God that in the merit of these righteous people, you should be granted that your prayers should be answered. The Shulchan Aruch also says explicitly that you may ask the deceased righteous people, or your parents for that matter, to intercede in heaven on your behalf, to be good advocates. We call it a melitz yosher or a gute beter in Yiddish. That you're allowed to do. You're not praying to them. You know that God runs the world, not them. But you could ask them to put in a good word for you. That's 100% permissible. So it says in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So what does it mean here to have faith in the sages? We have to have faith in God. What do you mean have faith in the sages? So the commentaries have a variety of interpretations. The first is to trust the sages that they know what they're talking about. If they're teaching you Torah and what they're teaching you doesn't seem to make any sense, trust them. Now, you have to understand it. But what is your response, your reaction, if your teacher teaches you something of Torah and it does not make any sense to you? So you're learning Rashi, who gives a commentary on the Chumash or the Gemara, and you don't get it, and it makes no sense. So if you don't have this quality, you might say, this Rashi is rubbish. God forbid. God forbid 1,000,000 times that any Jew should say that Rashi's commentary is rubbish. Rashi is the greatest commentary of all time on the Chumash and the Gemara. Unbelievable. There's no commentary like Rashi. So what should be, or the Gemara, I don't get this Gemara, it doesn't make sense. I don't agree. That's not the way a Jew should study Torah. What we should say is, I'm afraid I don't understand this Gemara. I don't get it. I'm afraid this Rashi is difficult. I don't understand it. We mustn't say it's rubbish, God forbid. We must understand that we don't have the intellectual capacity to understand it. We have to go get help. Ask another rabbi, look in the commentaries, work harder to understand it. Don't just be dismissive of it. So faith in the sages means faith in the teaching, in the Torah teaching of the sages, that they know what they're talking about. And if it seems not to make any sense, the failing must be in my limited, finite brain, and I have to work a little harder till I get my head around it. Don't be dismissive of Torah or its commentaries. That's the simple meaning. Then, to have respect for the sages, to have faith, and to trust the sages that they knew what they're talking about. So we have a tradition in traditional Jewish life, in the Torah lifestyle, as opposed to others. If you go out of the Orthodox world into other Jewish streams, they don't have this same respect for tradition. We have a tradition to have 2 days Yom Tov. The Reform have canceled the second day. They have a logical reason. Originally, it was started because we didn't know when Rosh Chodesh would be. We weren't sure, so we observed 2 days just in case. Now we know we have a calendar, a fixed calendar. My wife just brought home a calendar from Kosher World. So Baruch Hashem, now that Kosher World is here and they print calendars, so we know exactly when Yom Tov is. We know when the 15th of Sukkot is. We know when the 15th of Nisan is, when to observe Sukkot and Pesach. Why do we have to have 2 days? The Torah says the 15th, doesn't say the 15th and the 16th. In Orthodox Judaism, we continue to celebrate and observe 2 days of Yom Tov, even though the doubt has been resolved. Why? Tradition. And a healthy respect for that tradition. And a day that has been sanctified for centuries cannot just be chucked into the rubbish bin because you became clever. Even if the Torah did not require the 16th to be observed as a holy day, the very fact that the Jewish people in the whole diaspora outside Israel for centuries have observed the second day Yom Tov, the day has been sanctified by the people, if not by the Torah initially. And therefore, because we have a respect for tradition, we don't chuck it out like others have. Similarly, we have a respect that the sages of old not only knew what they were talking about, but they had a vision and a foresight to see our time as well. Just like we don't believe that God or the Torah is myopic, I can only see in front of its Jewish nose, but can see also 2020 and COVID and everything that's happening. It's all there in the Torah. So there's a beautiful word I saw today for the first time. There's a saying in the Talmud, if we look at the previous generations, that they were angels, then we are like human beings compared to them. Compared to the previous generations who were like angels, we are like mere mortals. But if we look at the previous generations like human beings, like mere mortals, then our generation, are like donkeys, a chamor. Meaning that we believe that the generations are declining generally speaking. There are exceptions, but generally speaking, we believe that the generations called Yiridat Hadorot, the generations are declining spiritually. Rabbi Akiva, the great sages of the Talmud, the Baal Shem Tov, the Rambam, Rashi, in the previous generations, we don't have sages of that caliber today. So we should believe that the previous generations were like angels and we are like mortals. But if we believe only that they are like mortals, then we are like donkeys. So the simple meaning is that the generations go in decline spiritually. But here's the word I saw today. If we believe that the previous generation, that the sages of old were angels, and angels don't make mistakes, they're heavenly, they're godly, they're messengers of God fulfilling his mission, then we are human beings. Then we are mentioned, the proper mention. But if we look down on the previous generations, on the sages of old, and we say they're mere mortals, they too can make a mistake. Just because Rashi said like this, I have to agree with him. I have my own opinion. Then you know what? If you make them into mere mortals, then you're making yourself into a donkey. We should rather have the respect for the previous generation, for the sages of old, that they are in fact angelic and heavenly and so wise and spiritual and righteous that we should trust them, we should have faith in the sages. That's what it means. Now, this morning we said a line quoting from the Chumash in Shmot by the story of the splitting of the sea. That when the Jews saw the sea split and their enemies, the Egyptians, were washing up on the shore, drowned, they're finally rid of their nemesis, the Egyptians who were coming in hot pursuit to take them back to Egypt. What does the verse say? And we say it in davening before Oz Yoshir every day in Shachris. Vayaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe avdo. And the Jewish people there at the Red Sea believed in Hashem and in Moshe, his servant. So we have it explicitly in the Chumash, and we say it in our davening every day. They believed in Hashem and in Moshe. So here's a concept, a scriptural source in the Torah of belief, faith in the sages. Faith in the sages. We don't believe that Moshe is God. We don't believe that any rabbi, any tzaddik, any sage is God. But we believe that the sages are connected to God and they know what they're talking about. And we trust them even when we don't understand what they're saying. So people have asked me, for example, people in South Africa would always ask my saintly teacher, blessed memory, the Rebbe, for advice about South Africa or personal advice. And the doctor said, I need surgery. Ask the Rebbe. The Rebbe says, don't do the surgery. It happened many times, such stories. And it turned out that the Rebbe knew what he was talking about. And thank God they didn't do the surgery. It would have been unnecessary. But how does he know? How does a Jew sitting in Brooklyn know what's going on in South Africa? How does a Jew sitting in Brooklyn tell us that it'll be good in South Africa till Mashiach comes? How does he know such a thing? How does he have the audacity almost to make such a prediction and put people's lives at stake after this? So I once heard a very good commentary on this. He said like this: how does a tzaddik know? So first of all, a rebbe is not a rabbi. Okay, he's not just a rabbi's rabbi either. He's a tzaddik, a saintly person. A saintly person who we believe has what we call ruach hakodesh, a Holy Spirit of Hashem, that they can see things that the average mortal does not necessarily see. But how do they see it? Are they prophets? We don't believe that there are prophets today. So I heard a beautiful explanation. He said like this: Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, meaning the physical and the spiritual, the heavenly and the earthly, it's one world. It's two sides of the same coin. Everything in this world has a physical side, but it also has a spiritual side. You and I, we see the physical, the outward, the superficial. Can we discern the spiritual? No, we can't. A tzaddik, however, a saintly person, a spiritual person, a spiritually refined and elevated person, a holy Jew, can see the spiritual side of the physical. So we see the physical and not the spiritual. But a tzaddik who is spiritually sensitive can see the spiritual, and even though he doesn't see the physical because he's a continent apart, away, by seeing the spiritual, he could understand the physical counterpart and thereby advise us on a physical matter because he sees the spiritual. So this is the meaning of Vayaminu B'Hashem of Moshe Avda. The Jews believed in Hashem and in Moshe, his servant. And that's the story. Next, we're running out of time. I still want to do two more. Let's try and move a bit quicker. The next one is B'Kabbalas HaYesodim, accepting suffering, acceptance of suffering. So, nobody has it all in this world. Everybody experiences disappointments in life. And when we experience disappointments, it's a form of suffering. Okay, not everybody has terrible suffering, but we all have disappointments and we all have sufferings to one degree or another. And does it break us or does it make us? Do we become rebellious? Do we become angry and bitter when we experience disappointments or suffering? And then we rebel. I met a doctor some time ago. I asked him, which shul do you go to? He says he used to go to a certain shul, but he resigned in anger and protest because they messed up. He came Rosh Hashanah and his seat was sold to somebody else. His wife resigned and they thought he resigned. And he did not resign, and he expected to find a seat, and someone else was in his seat, and he walked away in a huff, and he's never been back to shul. I don't know how many years it is. I says, okay, so if you're upset with that shul and their admin, please join our shul. We'd love to have you. Go to another shul. No, he's not going. So if a secretary in a shul messes up, or a gabbai messes up, or even a rabbi messes up, so is God not God? Is the Torah not Torah? Is shul not shul? You're upset with a person, okay, fine, but why are you throwing out Judaism? Why are you throwing out the whole synagogue life? But what happens? People get angry, people get disappointed, and they become rebellious. So Kabbalas HaYesodim means to accept our suffering and to take it in our stride. It's not the end of the world. Another commentary says that when you have dedication to Torah, like we learned earlier in a previous shir, it means not to focus and be head over heels in our materialistic pursuits. So not suffering, not exactly suffering, but it means we're having less pleasure of the physical world, the material world. Chofetz Chaim once said a beautiful word. He asked the guy, how you doing? He said, Rebbe is schlecht. Rabbi, things are bad. Chofetz Chaim said to him, Zog nit schlecht, zog bitter. Don't say things are bad, say they're bitter. What's the difference? We don't know what's good and what's bad. Things could be going seemingly bad for us. It might be a blessing in disguise. We have no idea. It's part of God's vast eternal plan. We don't know what it's about. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise, and tomorrow we'll see what it's all about. So we really can't say something is bad, but it's not good, and it's feeling bitter, and we're experiencing suffering, and it's not easy, and life is tough, and I lost my job, or whatever it might be, God forbid. So say it's bitter, but don't say it's bad. So that's a way of accepting one's difficulties in life. Then we have Hamakir es Mekoimai, to know one's place. I think I'm going to have to end with this because we're running out of time. I have to get the shul to Mincha. To know one's place. Now, usually when someone says, hey, know your place, what does that mean? They're putting us down, right? You're nothing. You're a nobody. Nobody asked your opinion. Know your place. Who do you think you are? But here the commentaries say know your place means know your shortcomings, but also know your strengths. Be honest with yourself. Be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Know your virtues and faults equally. A true self-awareness is necessary. Of course, we must not ignore or deny our shortcomings, but neither should we deny our strengths. Some people are too quick to deny their strengths and their qualities. You know why? Because with strengths and abilities come responsibilities. If you can do more, then you have a responsibility to do more. But if you put yourself down and you say, oh, I'm a nothing, then you have no responsibility, so you don't do anything. But if you have talents and you have capacity and you have wherewithal, material, spiritual, educational, organizational, a good heart, whatever it might be, you can do so much for the community. Don't put yourself down. Know your place, know the good and the bad. And finally, and with this I'll have to end, another interpretation of know your place is know what's your real place. A Jew's real place is not this world. What's the real world? Not the physical, but the spiritual, Olam Haba. They tell the story of different sages, different versions, that they had a very meager livelihood that came to their house. No furniture, no nothing. He says, Rabbi, how can you live like this? A tree stump for a table, and you don't have even chairs around your dining room. You don't have a table, chair. Well, how can you live like this? He says, you're traveling. What do you have? You have a backpack. That's all you have. He says, yeah, because I'm traveling. That's all I need is a backpack. The rabbi says, we're all travelers. This world, it's a journey in this world. The ultimate destination is the world to come. You go to a hotel and there's something wrong with the hotel. This is not good. This doesn't work, whatever. Okay, it's the end of the world. You're there 1 night, 2 nights, you know. That's not a train smash. This whole world is temporary. 120 years, you know, max. But the world to come is eternity. So know your place. Know that the real place of a Jew is the eternal world. I have to run to shul. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for being part of the shir. I said before that this is the last session of Ethics from Sinai now. We've done it 4 times, I think. And after Yontif, there won't be a shir next week, but after Yontif, we'll resume with a new topic. You can let me know if you prefer the 13 principles of faith or the 10 commandments. Let me know what your preference is. That's the choice. Take your pick. Sei gesund, Shana Tova. Let us all keep learning Torah more and more in the new year. May we all be blessed with a beautiful, sweet new year of health and happiness and end to plagues and all Hashem's abundant blessings for all of you and your families. God bless you. Thank you. Goodbye.
You
Amen.
too.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, Rabbi, thank you.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Sorry,
Amen,
Abba.
amen.
Abba, how are you?